Hi, I'm Rachel Anthony. Welcome back to my channel for another Writing Wednesday. Today, I'm taking you behind the scenes of a moment I've been dreaming about for a very long time, my very first book signing. So the day started off with my son and I loading up the car and heading to Park Road Books where the book signing was being held. Having my son there not only as my roadie, but also as my videographer and most importantly as my moral support meant the world to me. And as a result, he got to witness his mother have a couple of panic attacks throughout the day. But walking into the bookstore and seeing signs advertising my book and advertising my book signing was one of those slightly surreal moments. And in my case, decades, writing alone, wondering if anyone will ever read your story. And then suddenly, there it is on display in an actual bookstore. I may or may not have walked by that sign a couple times just to make sure it was real. But then it was off to the back of Park Road Books where the actual signing was being held. And I got to set up my display table for the first time. So I was so thrilled with how everything turned out. The table cover, all of the merch, all of the signage, everything that I put together. I just love the way everything turned out. So then it was time for the readers to start trickling in. One of the highlights of the day was when I got to read an excerpt from A Time for Us and talk a little about the inspiration behind the story. Writing a novel is such a solitary process. For months, years, you're alone with these characters and the world you've created. So getting to sit in a room with readers and actually talk about the story was so incredibly special. During the discussion part, we talked about where the idea of the book came from and some of the themes that run through the story, like love, reincarnation, memory, fate, destiny, and how powerful connections between people can actually transcend time and circumstance. Another question that came up was the writing process itself. People often ask me, how long did it take you to write your book? And I am never not embarrassed to say over 30 years. You know, you pick it up, you put it down, you get motivated, you get demotivated, and I'm finally happy that I got motivated enough to pick it up and have the courage to actually put it out in the world. We talked about the historical elements of the story and the research that went into bringing those time periods to life. And one of my goals for writing A Time for Us was to create a love story that feels emotionally timeless while still grounding it in very historical experiences and challenges, the challenges of those eras. But the conversation quickly turned to more about just the book. We talked about life, relationships, the writing journey, and the courage it takes to pursue creative dreams. Moments like that are so meaningful. It was such a great conversation with these lovely ladies. It will be an experience I will remember for the rest of my life. And then after the reading and discussion wrapped up, it was time for another surreal moment, and it was actually signing the book. It's such a surreal feeling knowing that someone is taking home the story you created. They're spending money, their hard-earned money, to buy your book, to read your story. Moments like this are a powerful reminder of why I wanted to become a writer in the first place. But of course, there is no trip to an independent bookstore without leaving with a bag full of books. And while I was there, I picked up several titles, including Breaking Waves by Gayle Sims. Gayle Sims is another debut indie author who actually came to support my signing, which was so thoughtful and beautiful. And it just really shows how supportive the writing community is. So I was so happy to buy Gayle's book and have her sign it for me and support her in her journey as well. So A Time for Us is on sale at my website, rachelanthonywrites.com, as well as all of the typical places online you would buy books like Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Kobo, other places. I am so grateful to have you come along with me on this journey for my first book signing. It was an unforgettable experience and hopefully the first of many. I hope to see you back next week for another Writing Wednesday. So please like, subscribe, and come back then. See you then. Bye.